The presenting sponsor for On Education is Schoology. Every day, millions of students, parents, faculty, and administrators from more than 1,600 school districts leverage Schoology to advance what is possible in education. The team at Schoology is passionate about making its users successful, and they know sometimes you might need a little help to achieve your desired outcomes. To help districts find their way to success, Schoology has created Schoology Compass, a set of self-service resources and tools to support school and district leaders in their journey to success. Compass is made up of 5 district success routes. Each one is designed to advance what is possible at your district. To learn more about Schoology Compass, simply visit Schoology.com.
I shouldn't have said stay tuned there. Welcome to On Education. I'm Mike Washburn.
And I'm Glenn Irvin. Friends, we have an awesome pod for you today. We're going to talk about NASA's latest mission to Mars, about how absolutely awesome the Apple Pencil is, and about not one, but 2 conferences, TIES 2018 coming up, and Schoology Next this summer.
Do you follow space stuff?
I followed this specific thing because it was obviously a national headline, probably international headline, I guess it would be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you follow like SpaceX launches and stuff like that?
No, not really. I mean,
No.
kind of.
I'm a giant space nerd. I love space stuff. I love like the Falcon Heavy launch was one of the coolest things. Like it was up there with some of the coolest stuff that I've ever seen on like live TV or live streamed.
Yeah.
Like with that guy jumping out of the. Have we talked about this? The guy jumping out of the balloon in space and stuff like that. I just love. You remember what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yes, I got
the
you.
Red Bull. Yeah. But this InSight thing is there. It's another rover. So it's funny how people are talking. I love the Twitter memes about like how people like ignore climate science and stuff like that, and these scientists. They're landing a device on a dime on another planet, basically.
Yes.
But let's ignore them about climate change. That kind of stuff is funny. But yeah, so this is a really cool mission. They're gonna like dig into the ground, and there's a seismometer, something like that, on it to track like tremors and plate tectonics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. It's really cool. So they just published they got their first pictures, one with like the lens filter still on it, so you can see all like the dust and whatnot. And then when the filter was taken off and they could see like it's on the ground and stuff like that. Landing these things is really hard, eh? Like
I imagine. Super complex.
Well, because Mars doesn't have an atmosphere. Well, it has an atmosphere, but it's nowhere close. Like the gravity isn't anywhere close to like Earth's gravity. So you can't just use a parachute to slow yourself down. You have to use some sort of like reverse propulsion to do like a burn landing sort of thing, almost like the Falcon 9 rockets when they land, right? You see them like burning to slow down. They have to do that with this too. So, I mean, it's pretty intense. But it has enough of an atmosphere that it still needs a heat shield. So
got a combination of those things. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's pretty complex stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing the things we can do. I know there's lots of crap and terrible things going on in the world, but man, oh man, we live in a wild, unbelievable, pretty amazing time. It is like for humanity, it is our lifetime, yours and I's lifespan is like such a weird time because I think our kids are going to grow up in a completely different existence and world. But we lived in like the middle of that where pre-Google, pre-Facebook,
kind of connected
pre-social media, right? The dawn of video games, and it's really wild to think, when we're retired, and I don't know what you're going to do. I'm going to golf, but when we're retired and we're sitting around, in our 50s and 60s and 70s or whatever, and there's going to be people walking around on Mars and doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It's going to be such a weird, different life than the life we lived. I was trying to explain to my students, before I left, about I don't know if you had this in your library, especially in my high school library. They had all the cue cards with where the books were.
Sure. Yeah.
In like a huge filing. The card catalog.
Yeah.
That's something that you never, you hardly see anymore because it's all been digitized, right? The kids were like, what is this nonsense? Why would you have them all on cards? It's just a hilarious example of how different the world is from when we were growing up.
Did you ever do research, Mike, where you had to use the microfiche machine? Do you know what that is?
Right. And an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you have to look up old news articles and you looked at them under this weird slide thing that you had to collect the little slide.
Like a project. Yeah. The projector
kind of weird thing. Yeah.
And you put your head into it.
Yeah. That's some insane tech there.
Oh boy. Now it's like you literally can, like the repository of all human knowledge is on Google.
A lot of it is, yes.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Speaking of, I mean, this isn't interesting, but you saw this article, and I actually went and looking for it today. I knew you tweeted about it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I've been saying this for years, talking about the Apple Pencil.
Apple Pencil.
And the hype is real, people. The hype is real.
Yes.
I hate the idea that I'm so nuts over something that is so damn expensive for what you think it is.
Yeah.
Right. Especially compared to the other I think what gives it a bad rap in terms of its price is that there are so many cheap, terrible styluses that you just get in swag bags at conferences.
Yeah.
And are sitting in giant bowls on tables at conferences in booths and stuff like that, labeled and branded and all of this nonsense, right? The Apple Pencil and the Surface, and I'm happy to put the Surface pen, the Microsoft equivalent, and the Samsung, I think it's called the S Pen.
Okay.
I'm happy to at least moderately put those in the same bucket.
I've never used those.
I've only used the S Pen. Now the Apple Pencil is absolutely better than those other two.
Yeah.
But they're all kind of close to equal. But man, oh man, this article, we'll post it in the show notes, is about how teachers are using the Apple Pencil, and it's changing the way they use iPads because of the things that they can do with it that they weren't able to do before. The best example was their ability to walk around the classroom and take really good notes. I mean, you could take notes before, but they might not be legible. Styluses were terrible, but now you can write some really solid notes while holding your iPad in one hand. And especially if you have a mini, I guess you can't use the Apple Pencil with a mini, but hold your iPad and write notes like a tablet you would use. And now you're able to do some really interesting things, draw diagrams and tons of cool stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. And I want to give a shout out to Dave Eisenman, and he is in Minnetonka Public Schools up here in Minnesota. And that's who wrote this article. And Minnetonka is kind of has been a tech leader, not just in Minnesota, but in the United States as far as the use of iPads. We're one of the first schools, and basically opens up their school every single year to anybody on the outside world, including parents, but especially other educators from other schools. And they have you do basically, instead of doing a conference, they have their school open, and you can go into specific types of classrooms. So you can kind of say, okay, I'm a world language teacher. How are they adapting or using iPads in this setting? And so you get to see the integration live and in person, and then ask that teacher,
that's really cool,
and ask the students kind of what, follow-up questions, and really be able to see it, some real action research. So yeah, when I saw this article, and I was like, okay, Mike is going to love this, number one, because Apple Pencils. But number two, has some really good data here, right? I mean, there's some really good, positive data that says that supports kind of a student-centered classroom too. A teacher kind of getting away from the front of the room and sharing that space with the students. I thought that they had some great statistics here as far as how the teachers felt about just how that changed their teaching.
Well, and we just had a conversation a week or two ago about apps that teachers aren't using at all.
Yeah.
Right. And we have schools paying tens to even potentially, I suppose, hundreds of thousands of dollars for access to these apps, especially from these textbook companies and whatnot. And you have $100 device that is being used 92% of all teachers use that were surveyed in this use it weekly.
Yes.
71% are using their Apple Pencil every single day.
That's awesome, huh?
I feel like that's pretty convincing. I mean, that's a good value. You're getting your money out of it. People are using these things, and it's not a waste of money. And it is because it is so good. And the hype is real. Like it is a really good, solid device. I loved how they were talking about, like, because I used it for notability.
Yes.
When I used it a lot, it was to write anecdotal notes. I'd walk around the room with my iPad. I'd take a picture of something on someone's screen or whatever, and then I'd write a little note underneath it. And I find that that's where this kind of thing in the classroom is really shining. And I think that that's probably where a lot of teachers are using it, is to like you said, be in the middle of the room instead of the front, and be walking around your classroom, watching your students, helping them, talking to them, engaging with them in what they're doing, and writing down things so that you're an active participant in in the evaluation, and not just someone who receives a test or an assignment at the end of a term or unit and marks it, and then you're on the way.
Yes.
Being able to write anecdotal notes and being able to write them well and legible. And this is useful. Like, my wife uses anecdotal notes a lot.
Yes.
Like this is her, right? It's her thing. And I actually got like a lot of my ideas and habits about doing that from her. And she showed me, how she uses notability. And I think that, being able to do that with this, and then being able to share that with the parents, which is what I thought was really cool. So you do a parent-teacher meeting, and you pull up their file in Notability, and you say, look at all this. I have all these notes, and we can go over these notes. This is a daily representation or a weekly representation of what your child is doing in my room. And they can read them too, because you can write better. And to be honest, I think that makes a difference. I think that that's important, right?
Oh, big time. Big time. Yep. And then I had two things that I thought were great about this article. And again, we're going to be sharing it. But one part, they actually tested out that Logitech crayon, and it's $30 cheaper. And they said, because it wasn't pressure sensitive, and we've talked about that, when you hold this pencil in your hand and you actually start writing with it, you will know what we're talking about. But because it didn't have that pressure sensitivity, they said, that's not even worth it. We'll just pay the extra $30. So that's how much of a difference that made. I was like, oh, that's an important thing to note. So if you're going to go with the Logitech crayon, understand that it doesn't have that pressure sensitivity. And then the other part that I was thinking about is I've had lots of positive feedback from teachers who are able to grade on an iPad, for example, in Schoology, and then be able to use like just even a stylus. But imagine with this pencil, Mike, it's so accurate and so easy to be able to use, and so subtle, like subtle notes and whatever it might be, to be able to give that feedback to students. And it feels kind of like the merging of old tech, basically a paper pencil, but now you have the ability there's something that's amazing about writing instead of typing too. So there is still that connection to being able to just do that writing and drawing and doing those kinds of things.
And if you have lovely handwriting, which a lot of teachers do, I don't, but I know that there are teachers that write really, really nice. My wife, for example, again, this is great, because now you can really write the way that you write instead of it looking like garbage on your iPad and stuff like that. So
yes,
super cool.
We'll share
this blog blog posts because it's what we've talked about this before, and
you were right.
It's a legit thing. I feel vindicated a little. So our friends at Schoology announced Schoology Next 2019 this week, which is pretty exciting.
Yes, and it's going to happen in Florida. I think it happened in Florida 2 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't go to that one.
Me neither. I think it happened in Miami, but this is in Boca Raton,
which is just north of Miami. Might as well be in Miami.
Yeah, it's super awesome. I heard that the site is amazing. They haven't announced this specific site, but I heard it's amazing. And I mean, who doesn't want to go to Florida like us?
Right, exactly. I'm pretty excited. Boca's in the Fort Lauderdale area, which I think is just north of Miami. I've never been to Florida, so I don't know it super well. Obviously, we're going
January.
to Orlando in January. So Schoology Next, Boca Raton in what, July?
July, it was 9th. It was early in July, yeah. Instead of
just literally like a week after ISTE.
Yep. And then right around a little bit after the 4th of July. I know it's going to be back to back. We're going to be busy. It's going to be awesome.
Boy, I'm going to be exhausted. So that's exciting. It'll be nice to be somewhere nice and hot, and obviously really excited. If you're not a member of the Schoology community in any way, if you've never used it, I know that they're our sponsor, but Glenn and I are Schoology users.
Yes,
and you should really
check it out.
Like give it a shot. Yeah, totally, and engage yourself in that community, because it's not just a really good learning management system, but the teachers using it actively and that are engaged in like PLNs especially on Twitter, are some of the coolest people that I know.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah, they're willing to help, share, work together collaboratively, and the community itself. I mean, even if you're just a free user, you can get so much out of it just because the community is so active. That's I think what separates it from a lot of other, learning management systems.
And because that community is so awesome, that makes the conference really awesome.
Amazing. Yes.
Like last year was a blast, an absolute riot. The entire time was so much fun. We learned a lot, but it was just a hoot. Like we had such a great time. So, we're looking forward to this coming up, and we'll hopefully be doing. It would be really cool to do like a legit live show in a room kind of thing with a live audience and stuff like that. We'll have to talk to those guys.
That would be
again.
Awesome. Yes, we should do that settled. For sure.
Especially considering we're going to be coming off of I think we're doing that exact same thing at ISTE.
Yes, we are.
Or at least we're working on it. So we'll have been in that mode and have it practiced at least a little bit.
Do it again.
Right. So when we come back, we're going to talk about another conference. We're going to talk about TIES 2018. So stay tuned.
On Education is brought to you by Classcraft. Classcraft is an amazing teaching resource created by teachers. Classcraft is dedicated to making school relevant and engaging to all of our students. Classcraft is proud to announce their Questathon quests created with shared storylines and custom illustrations to bring any subject to life. Every time a teacher downloads one of the free quests, Classcraft will add $1 to the Teachers Are Professionals fund, which will be used to fund teacher requests to pledgesense.com. To learn more about Classcraft, simply go to classcraft.com.
All right, welcome back to the pod. TIES 2018 is happening in a couple weeks, and that's what we're going to talk about now. December 8th to 11th.
It's coming right up.
Glenn? Yeah, in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yes. It's only 70 miles from me, so I'm pumped. We're going to...
How about that, eh? You barely even have to travel. Are you going to go home? Are you going home every night?
I have to. Remember, I'm running the podcast, so.
Right.
Giving us a preview here. No, but I wouldn't anyway. We have events that happen throughout like at ISTE. So it's very similar to that. Yeah, go ahead.
So talk about TIES. So what is it? Where is it? Who's speaking, the big keynotes, whatever. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
So traditionally, it's a conference that is basically, I refer to it as kind of the biggest conference in our area. So I would say like the Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas, Iowa area. And it has actually been happening or going on for, I believe, more than 25 years. I'm not exactly sure on the number, and I should know it because I just answered a trivia question about it the other day. But they're the leaders in basically ed tech, and the people that Tides is able to bring in, the speakers, are just what a phenomenal group of people. So it starts off with a pre-conference, just like any kind of bigger conferences. On Saturday, there's a keynote with Pernell Rip. She's a super dynamic speaker. She actually spoke as a keynote speaker last year with us. And then she does this kind of luncheon thing. So she does kind of a luncheon keynote speech. And then you can go and have one-on-one conversations with her, buy her book, just an amazing thing. She's a super awesome speaker. Then on Sunday, again, this is before the conference even starts, this is the pre-conference, we have another keynote speaker, and it's Jennifer Casa-Todd, and again, another huge name as far as in education. And she's actually in your area, Mike. She's Ontario.
I was going to say, she's Canadian.
She's Canadian, yeah. And she has all kinds of amazing certifications and just a great ed tech leader. And that's just the pre-conference. So just leading up to the start of the conference, which starts on a Monday, we have some great speakers.
Very cool. And so you are attending with some, I assume with a group, you're bringing like a group of people.
Yep. From our school districts usually bring, and we try to bring make sure we bring some teachers that are interested or just that want to experience this kind of conference or go to specific things to get inspired, because that's really what happens. I think you go to some sessions. Yeah. Like, I'm going to throw out a name right now that's been on the pod. Sarah Thomas is actually going to be at the conference, and Sarah is running a session, for example, on gamification. And that's just one of the many sessions that she's running. What an awesome opportunity. We talked about how
Sarah listens to the pod too.
Yeah, hi, Sarah. But like at ISTE, I'm sorry, where it becomes so overwhelming just to even attend the session. You know what I mean, Mike? Where they get filled up super quick, and a name like Sarah Thomas, you're like, I couldn't even get into the thing. At Ties, that's the reason why I love Ties, is that there's some big sessions, but you can get in. You know what I mean? There's no like closing you out of a session. ISTE will literally close the doors on you, and you're if you're outside, too bad. But no, I love that part of it, that you can go and see basically who I consider to be kind of the digital leaders. We had George Kuros here a few years ago, and I actually sat down with him and one another person I'm going to give it a shout out to, Angie Kaltoff, and we just had a conversation about Game of Thrones and education in general. And I mean, that stuff doesn't feel like it happens very easily, at a place like ISTE, but at this place, it's all relaxed, and the participants and the speakers are in the same spaces. So it's super cool. Love it.
Nice. What other sessions are you into? What are you planning on going to, or what's your jam?
So I want to make sure that I give a shout out to Angie Kaltoff, who I just mentioned here, who is one of our featured speakers, and she's here in Minnesota, and she does a lot of work with code.org. And she has 4 different sessions that she's going to be running. And they have everything to do from computer science to pre-K for pre-K through 2 students, things that would be in your jam. Things computer science is changing everything, tech in your world. I mean, this is your wheelhouse right here. And one of the ones that I thought would be an amazing session to attend is called Connecting Students in an Online World. And it talks about using things like Flipgrid, Seesaw, and some other tools to be able to connect these students and have a positive digital presence in the world. So super awesome stuff. Happy to give her a shout out too. So our keynote speakers for the main sessions too are big time leaders. Again, Jamie Kossop works for Google, and he is a speaker in all kinds of different educational settings. And on Tuesday, we have Kimberly Bryant, and she is the director of Black Girls Code. And I mean, it's just like some amazing people that we get to have an opportunity to be able to attend. And it's a large conference for our area, but it's not at all overwhelming. You know how that feels. Even when we go to FETC, there's some big numbers there. So it feels a little bit kind of like, oh goodness, this is a lot of people, but this doesn't feel like that. It feels very kind of like down to earth, and you can really relate to things. So yeah, I'm excited about going, and I'm excited.
Like Next,
and excited. Yeah, exactly. It's like Next. That's very similar feeling to that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about going. And then also, of course, we're going to be there with the pod.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I wish I could come. I looked at the prices for hotels, and it was just it's too much. And we just don't have the budget for it if we're trying to get to Florida and Philadelphia and Boca Raton. So I mean, we're trying to do 3 conferences this year. Or next year, I guess. It was not in the cards, but you're going to be there, and you're going to rep the pod hard, I guess. You're doing. Tell us what we're doing.
So we are on. We want to make sure. Number one, I'm going to be speaking to any of the keynote speakers. I'm going to make sure that I get an opportunity to have some conversations with them and do some like little interviews, like mini interviews, 3 to 5 minutes. Ask them about kind of what their take on ed tech is and their specific sessions that they were presenting on or that they did present on or whatever. And then I want to make sure that I open up the mic to all these other amazing people that will be attending. So if you're going to be there, you're a Minnesota person and you want to go ahead and be on the pod and talk about a specific topic, I'm going to be there recording, and we're going to go ahead and do some special shows just for the TIES conference. So I'm really excited about that.
It'd be cool to do like a mashup. If you have like 10 or 15 of these little 5-minute interviews, we can just string them all together. You could do like an intro, talk about each one of them, but then just play it and play them all in a row. I love conferences are great. I love the energy of conferences. Being around awesome people that are doing awesome things so I tell everyone you should go to ISTE once. Just at least go once. It's crazy, but the energy is obvious. There are a lot of people there. It's a little overwhelming, but you can feel the energy of people wanting to learn from each other and share with each other and stuff like that. And that's the same with Next, and I'm sure it'll be the same with FETC. And it sounds like TIES is going to be really, really cool.
Absolutely.
So pretty exciting. So TIES is December 8th to 11th. I think you can probably still get tickets for it.
Yes, absolutely.
So search up TIES 2018 and definitely go hunt Glenn down.
Yes.
And say hi to Glenn and please get an On Education sticker, because I'm not buying new ones until we get rid of all the old ones. And I have a new design. I have a new design I'm really jacked up about. So
I want to see that.
Let's get rid of the old ones so that we can give you the new ones at FETC and so on. So TIES, December 8th to 11th, 2018. Thanks for listening to On Education. My name is Mike Washburn, and my co-host is Glenn Irvin. Do you want to get in touch with us? Check out our website at oneducationpodcast.com. You can tweet us at oneducationpod. Glenn is at Irv Spanish on Twitter. I can be found on Twitter at Mr. Washburn. Our engineers are Jake and Justin at Podcast Production Team. Check out their website at podcastproductionteam.com. You can find us on Facebook by visiting facebook.com/oneducationpod. If you're enjoying the show and think others would too, we'd be thrilled if you shared it with them. Please leave us a rating or review in Apple Podcasts or the Google Play Store. When you leave a rating, it gives our rankings a boost, and this helps others discover the show. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Schoology, for supporting us. Check out Schoology.com to learn how they can help you advance what's possible. Thanks as always for listening. Stay awesome. See you soon.